Hey everyone, you feeling a little overwhelmed with all the AI news lately?
Yeah, it's
Uh,
really exploded.
it's a lot to keep up with, but don't worry, that's what we're here for, right? This deep dive is all about getting you up to speed on the really important stuff. And we've got some juicy insights to unpack from a recent interview with Sam Altman, the man behind OpenAI and, of course, ChatGPT.
Yeah, the interview with Lex Fridman.
That's the one.
Yeah.
It is a goldmine of information about where AI is headed next, so
Yeah.
buckle up.
It really is. He goes deep.
Because Altman didn't just talk about like the latest features of ChatGPT or anything like that. This was about his vision for the future of AI as a whole. And
Yeah,
some of the stuff he said is honestly pretty mind-blowing.
it is.
One of the things that really jumped out at me was all this talk about GPT-5, which,
Right.
that's the next iteration of their language model.
Hmm.
He's being pretty secretive about when we can expect it,
Yeah,
naturally.
first. Yeah.
Can't be dropping any bombshells like
Right.
that.
Yeah.
But even just the hints he dropped about what it'll be capable of, honestly, it makes you think that GPT-5 might be a bigger leap forward than anything we've seen so far from OpenAI.
I think so. Yeah. It's easy to hear GPT-5 and think, okay, well, that's just going to be like a slightly fancier version of ChatGPT, you know? But what Altman's suggesting here, it's so much bigger than that. Imagine asking AI to like not just write you a poem or summarize a document, but to actually design like a complex scientific experiment
Wow.
or write the code for a robot just by you describing what you want in plain English. That's the level of sophistication that he's hinting at here, which is incredible to think about.
It's really like, almost like science fiction coming to life. It's
It is.
wild. And then on top of GPT-5, Altman also teased something called Q, which he was
Yes.
very, very cagey about. It's some kind of super secret project that OpenAI's got going on, but nobody seems to know exactly what it is. So naturally, everyone's freaking out trying to figure out, like, what could be so groundbreaking that they're keeping it this hush-hush?
I know. Everyone and their mother is trying to figure out what Q-Star is all about. It's really the million-dollar question right now.
Yeah.
But I think based on, what little we do know, it doesn't seem like Q-Star is just about making AI that's better at, like, following your instructions or generating text. This seems to be something way more fundamental to how AI actually works.
Like, so what, like teaching AI to actually think for itself?
Basically, yeah. See, right now AI can, answer your questions, it can generate different creative text formats, but it does all that by basically finding patterns in massive data sets, right? So it's
Right.
not really thinking for itself. But Q-Star, my guess is that this is about changing that, creating AI that can actually like solve problems step by step, kind of like how a human brain would.
Okay, so now we're not just talking about AI that can process information, but AI that can actually reason on its own.
Yeah, exactly.
But for all his, excitement about the future of AI, Altman's not just this wide-eyed optimist about all of this, correct?
Absolutely not.
No,
He's very aware of the challenges.
also realistic about the massive challenges ahead and what it's going to take to actually get us to this kind of AI-powered future that he's describing.
Right. And some of those challenges are, well, they're pretty daunting, to be honest. Like, take computing power, for instance. Altman talks about this uprising in computing power that we're going to need just to make these advanced AI systems a reality. And he's not exaggerating either.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, you think about how much energy your phone uses now compared to like 10 years ago, right? And AI is exponentially more power hungry than our phones are.
Oh, absolutely. To give you a sense of scale, like training a single AI model like GPT-3 that can use as much energy as a small town does in a year.
See, that's what I mean. This isn't just about plugging in a few more servers. We're talking about potentially needing completely new energy sources just to keep up with these AI systems.
It's true. Altman even went so far as to mention like mini nuclear reactors as a potential solution.
Wow, so maybe hold off on buying that AI-powered toaster oven for now, huh? Might overload the grid.
Right.
But yeah, energy is a huge hurdle, but it's not the only one. And, to his credit, Altman was really emphasizing that it's not just about the technology itself, but also about using it responsibly. And a huge part of that is ensuring user privacy, especially as AI starts to become more advanced, capable of actually remembering things.
Yeah, and he's talking about these experimental AI assistants that can remember past conversations, which on the surface sounds pretty cool, right?
Yeah, being able to pick up where you left off with an AI, having it remember your preferences, I mean, that's pretty neat.
Sure, but then you have to think about the flip side of that, right? What if that AI remembers sensitive personal information? Or what about the potential for Misuse, data breaches. These are questions that we really need to grapple with as this technology develops.
It's a good thing, then, that Altman is acknowledging this and emphasizing the need for users to have control over what the AI actually remembers.
Oh, absolutely. Because look, as AI gets more powerful, we've got to be even more careful about building in safeguards and making sure that users are in control of their data. This isn't just a tech issue, it's a question of ethics and responsibility. It really is a question of ethics and responsibility. Like, going back to what we were saying about Altman not wanting one company to control all of this really gets to the heart of it.
Yeah, he said before that he doesn't want to see this level of AI power concentrate in the hands of just one company or even just one person, right? Because the stakes are just too high. He keeps talking about this vision he has for a future where the development of advanced AI is a collaborative effort, which, sounds great in theory, but how do you actually do that with something as complex and as fast-moving as AI? It's like we're trying to write the rule book for a game that's already in play.
Right. And that's exactly what it feels like sometimes. It's a huge challenge, and I don't think anyone's going to pretend that they have all the answers right now. But that's probably why Altman is putting so much emphasis on having this open dialogue and getting as many different voices in the conversation as possible, right? It can't just be tech companies. You've got to have policymakers and ethicists and just regular people involved in shaping how we actually use this technology.
Oh, I totally agree. Because this isn't just about tech anymore, is it? This is about the future of society and how we want to live with this technology as it becomes more powerful.
Exactly. I mean, if AI really can do what a lot of people are saying it can, if it can actually solve problems that we used to think only humans could tackle, then how does that change the way we work? How does it affect our education systems? What does it even mean for how we define intelligence itself? And those aren't just abstract thought experiments to talk about on podcasts like this. Those are going to be very real questions that impact everyone on the planet.
Yeah, it's way bigger than faster phones and cooler gadgets, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're talking about potentially changing what it even means to be human, which, on the one hand, is incredibly exciting, but I'm not going to lie, it's also a little bit intimidating.
Oh, absolutely. It's a lot to process for sure, especially since it feels like everything is happening so fast.
Mm.
But I think even with all the uncertainty about the future, one thing is clear. The field of AI is blowing up right now. And it's not just open AI making
Oh,
waves.
yeah. You've got companies like Meta and Google and I don't know how many startups all racing to develop the next big AI breakthrough. Altman actually seemed kind of excited by it when he talked about it, like he was really energized by this explosion of new AI models that are popping up everywhere.
It really is an explosion. Every day there's a new model being released, and each one is pushing the boundaries of what we thought was possible. You've got Meta's Llama 3, there's Mistral 8 by 22, Stable Diffusion just released their 3 turbo model. It's honestly kind of hard to even keep track of them all.
I know. It's like every time you think you're caught up, there's like 10 more to learn about.
Yeah.
But in a way, isn't that a good problem to have? I mean, you want to see innovation, you want to see competition, because usually that's how we get the best results, right?
You would think so, right? And hopefully that's how it plays out with AI too. But with all this rapid development, there are some new challenges that come up too. For one, how do you even begin to compare these AI models objectively? They're all being trained on different data with different goals in mind. Trying to figure out which one is better at something is like comparing apples to oranges.
And even if you can figure out a way to compare them, and let's say you find the most advanced model out there, there's still the question of how we make sure all of this is happening responsibly.
Yeah.
Because it's one thing to have AI writing you a catchy jingle for your next ad campaign, but it's a completely different story that AI is driving your car or, making life-altering decisions.
You hit the nail on the head. That's the real million-dollar question about all of this, isn't it?
Yeah.
How do we balance the excitement of this innovation with the need to make sure it's being developed responsibly? Because it's not enough to just create powerful AI. We need to create it ethically and make sure it's being used thoughtfully.
It's almost like we're dealing with a force of nature here, isn't it?
That's a really great way to put it. And just like with any powerful force of nature, we need to approach this technology with respect and caution. We need to be aware of its potential downsides and not just focus on the exciting possibilities.
It really does feel that way sometimes, doesn't it? Like we're right on the edge of something huge and we're still figuring out how to handle it. And that actually brings up something else we haven't really touched on yet, which is access to all of this.
Mm.
What happens if only these big companies with tons of money can afford to develop the really powerful AI?
It's a huge question, and it's something that Altman has talked about too. He keeps saying that democratizing AI is important to him, that this technology should benefit everyone, not just a select few. But the reality is, building these cutting edge AI models takes massive amounts of data. It takes a ton of computing power, not to mention just money to fund all of it, right?
Yeah.
And that automatically gives an advantage to these big tech companies with really deep pockets.
Right. It's like showing up to a marathon and realizing you're the only one who has to start 10 miles behind everyone else. Like,
Mm.
how do you even compete at that point? So, yeah, it raises some big questions about fairness and opportunity in this whole AI revolution that's happening. And then on top of all that, there's the environmental impact that we touched on earlier,
Right.
right? I mean, these things use an insane amount of energy.
Yeah, and it's not just the energy use either, right? We have to think about all the physical resources that go into building and maintaining this technology, mining the raw materials for the computer chips, manufacturing all the components, powering these massive data centers. It adds up quickly.
It makes you wonder if an AI-powered future is even sustainable, at least with our current technology.
Well, the good news is that there are people working on that too. Some companies are starting to take the environmental impact more seriously, and they're exploring ways to make AI more sustainable. Things like developing algorithms that are more energy efficient or building data centers that run on renewable energy. So there's definitely hope.
That's good to hear, because this is way too important to just ignore those problems. Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground today. We talked about GPT-5 and the almost unimaginable things it might be able to do, the whole mystery surrounding Q, this explosion of new AI models that seems to be happening every day, not to mention all the ethical questions and potential societal impacts and the challenges of making sure it's all sustainable. It's honestly a little dizzying just trying to think about all of it, and I think if we tried to cover everything, we'd be here for another week.
At least. This field moves so fast, we'd probably have to record a whole new episode tomorrow to stay on top of it.
Right. But speaking of trying to make sense of all of this, where does this leave us? I mean, what does it all mean?
I think if there's one thing we can say for sure, it's that the future of AI is anything but certain. It's exciting and it's daunting and it's all happening so fast. Altman's vision of everyone working together to develop and govern AI, not just the tech companies, but policymakers and ethicists and everyday people, it's a really important one. And honestly, it's probably the only way we're going to be able to navigate all of this responsibly. Because ultimately, this isn't just about lines of code and algorithms, it's about shaping the future we want to live in.
It really feels like we're at this pivotal moment in history. Like the choices we make today are going to determine what that future looks like, for better or worse. Which reminds me, Altman said something else that really stuck with me. He talked about how GPT-5 has the potential to completely revolutionize scientific discovery. And he wasn't just talking about making things a little bit faster or more efficient. He was talking about breakthroughs that could fundamentally change how we understand the universe, maybe even unlock the secrets of consciousness itself. I mean, it's kind of awe-inspiring, but it also makes you realize just how high the stakes really are here.
Absolutely. And I think that's a pretty powerful thought to end on, that we might be on the cusp of a whole new era of scientific discovery, one that's driven by artificial intelligence. It really makes you wonder, what incredible breakthroughs might we witness in our lifetime?
It really does. And that's the question I want to leave you with today. What scientific mysteries are you most curious about? What breakthroughs do you hope to see in your lifetime? Because the future of AI, it's not just something happening to us. It's something we all have a role in shaping. So think about it. What future do you want to create? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.